Reiki teacher and master, and she is a sound healer and a cacao ceremonialist. And we have Oksana, who is a quantum healer and an empowerment coach. I love these ladies so much, and I'm so honored to have them here. We're going to talk today about our individual journeys, what led us to wanting to hold space professionally, all the things that we had to go through to transform our own stories, our own pain, our own path to be able to fulfill our destiny as facilitators, as holders of sacred space. This is a group of people that really just love all beings everywhere, and we want to emanate that love. We want to share that love, and we want to encourage you, if you are someone who feels called to be a professional facilitator, a professional healer, or a guide, and you just don't know where to start, you have a million questions about where to begin. Perhaps you're on your own healing journey and you're just really excited about this type of work, and you don't really know what your specific modality is or how to begin. Then hopefully throughout today's conversation, we'll be able to answer your questions on what your own unique blueprint is, what modality is for you, and what the foundation, regardless of the modality that any one of us specializes in, the foundational elements that need to be there in order for you to be able to build a thriving practice in your own life. Okay, anybody can do this work. We're all self-healers, and self-healers usually at some point want to share their work and their transformation with others, right? I know from my own personal story, having dealt with a lot of, seemingly chronic self-destructive behaviors, just such as eating disorder and addiction, and a lot of limiting beliefs and early childhood trauma, having led myself through a lot of this suffering, at some point in my own journey, all I wanted to do was talk about my transformation and share it with others and make it available to other people, right? And so it becomes a natural progression as we learn to heal ourselves to want to share it with others. And for so many of us, we stop ourselves from the sharing or even sharing it professionally because we have some fears or concerns about, our credibility, whether or not what we have to say has value, whether or not other people will take us seriously, whether or not we can build a thriving practice. Can we provide for ourselves? Is it possible to be in the world, fully in the world, and yet not of the world, right? And I'm surrounded by these amazing women who are living examples of what it's like to participate in the world in a way that actually aligns with our value system, aligns with our spiritual principles, and the things that we teach in our daily practices, whether it's a coaching program or a group class, or an online class or a reading. All of the different offerings that you're going to hear about today really hold this in common. We're here to share our love, our light, our energy, and of course our skill set, so that other people can find their own purpose, their own path. They can come out of suffering, which is ultimately what we're all here to do, right? As human beings, we incarnate into this physical human expression, this temporary phase of humanity many, 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 many times over and over and over again, so we can experience the contrast, the pain of what it means to be human, the suffering that comes along with being human. We're here to neutralize our karma and to come into self-realization, right? And I think everybody here can agree that we're all here to awaken to our essential nature, to discover the love that we are, and to learn to love ourselves radically and unconditionally, so that we can heal ourselves and ultimately enjoy the experience of being human while we're here on the planet, right? So thank you everybody for joining us live. We have our trusted moderator is here with us today. Lacey's here with us today, who's going to be posting questions when we're ready to go. I would like to start us off with Ashley. Ashley, if you feel called to go first, I would love for everybody to hear from you, to hear your personal story, what it took for you to choose the path that you're on. Don't hold back. Be as raw and vulnerable as you can, and share with us the gifts of being a Reiki master, teacher, sound healer, and a cacao ceremonialist, and how this is fulfilling for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So grateful to be here with all of you, and just settling into remembering my journey here today. And I feel this sense of deep gratitude for the tools that have introduced themselves into my life, because as you were sharing, Sabrina, there was this awareness of, your childhood trauma, addiction, and suffering, and then brought you into healing. And mine is sort of like a very opposite story, which is interesting to hear. So I was very unaware of my suffering and my trauma at the beginning of my journey. Reiki was a true calling for me, and I actually received an intuitive message at the beginning of starting this journey to Google healing with hands while I was sitting at my corporate job many years ago. And I ended up down a Google wormhole and learned that healing with hands was also known as Reiki. And I then received another intuitive message that said, you need to pursue this because it's something you're going to do professionally. And I was like, yeah, right. And clicked out of Google, moved on with my life because I had done all the things right by society's standards, right? Like I had gone to college, I had gotten a great job in corporation and had climbed the ladder. I was running a multi-million dollar company, and I was like 24, by the way. So I was like, I've done everything right. What do you mean it's time for me to change this trajectory? Right, quote unquote.
Yeah, of
And
course.
um, so I really just left the calling and ignored it for a good amount of time. And looking back, I realized that the message, the intuitive message, came through as a professional path because at that time, looking back, that was really the only thing I cared about was my work.
Mm.
And so, if Reiki would have come in, if this intuitive message would have come in as just like, hey, this will be fun for you to play in, or you have some things you need to heal, I would have not taken it as seriously. And
Mhm.
so I think that's a good message for maybe those of us that resonate with a similar story of just like, I have this message to like quit my job, but it's like the thing that sustains my life and provides for me. And it took me a good year to keep letting that calling come back. And it just wouldn't stop. Reiki just kept coming back into my awareness and wouldn't quit
That's
until
am
I.
that's amazing. So it's like Reiki was like kind of like tapping you on the shoulder and said, "Hi, wake up, please." Ah, amazing.
1,000%.
So
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about, okay, so then so you started pursuing Reiki. At what was the transition between corporate and healing? Like what was the transition between, what was that point where you just knew I can't do the corporate thing anymore, you know?
It was less than 9 months, so there's levels to Reiki training, right? So you start with 1 and then, our lineage goes up to 4 different levels. But at the 3rd level, which is considered a Reiki master, at that point, it was like 9 months until I left. As soon as I took that training, it was very clear, like, it's time to quit your job, and I had to move through a lot of fears around money and how I was going to support myself because I was also working, 50 hours a week. So I didn't have a side hustle of Reiki by any means.
Wow.
No clients that I was already, working with. It was going to be a complete free fall
Yeah.
into this new world.
Amazing. Amazing. Can anyone else relate to the fear of scarcity and how am I going to pay my bills and how am I going to provide for myself being a full-time facilitator? This is very normal, right? It's very, very normal. And, we talk about this a lot in spiritual community, especially as intuitive guides. And, for someone who's been training other facilitators for many years, you just have to, there's no right time. There
Right.
really is no right time. You just have to like when you feel called, we have to trust with every cell in our being that we're going to be provided for. And this is a funny story that I tell often is when I started holding space professionally, I was so afraid that I wasn't going to have, I also came from corporate. I have a 10 years in the corporate world background and, making great money, but really empty inside, similar to you in that way. And I took a job at a restaurant. I took a job as a waitress at a restaurant. By the way, I've had nothing but corporate jobs my entire life. I was director of sales. I was the owner of my own CRM business. I was like, C-level for most of my corporate career. So I took a job as a waitress. It's the only job that I've ever been fired from. And I tell this story and it makes people laugh because it was like, I could do all these big responsibility jobs, but this one particular job, I was not good at it, and and the thing was, I took it as a sign. I remember driving home from the restaurant that night, just kind of laughing to myself, because the universe was like basically telling me, like, stop acting like I'm not going to take care of you. Like, you're not going to be provided for. You're going to be fine. You don't need to do this. You don't need to, you know, distract yourself anymore or any further. Just focus on the gifts that you're here to share. And from then on, I think in my first year of coaching, I mean, I didn't make six figures in my first year, but I did very well in my first year because I was able to just focus on, helping others from a place of joy. Right.
Mm.
And I don't know if you can relate to this, Ashley, but like just sharing maybe in the beginning, what was it like for you to get clients in the beginning? I know that I started sharing my gifts sort of for free or in exchange for testimonials or in exchange for referrals and just starting to get some visibility and getting the word out. Was that similar for you as well, Ashley?
Yeah, starting with friends and family and then word of mouth. And I did what's called like an upward price technique where I started at like a very low. I didn't start at free, but I started, very, very low for the session. And then I did like 10 sessions at that price. And then once I completed 10 sessions, I moved into, moved higher in my pricing. And
Yeah.
that's something that really supported me in feeling like I was gaining experience
Yeah.
that was equal to the energy exchange I was asking of people. And so until I reached the price that I felt comfortable at that time, and I've been doing this for 5.5 years full time now. Yay. Um,
Yeah. Amazing.
and it's changed over time, but that's how it started for me too.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, good. I want to hear from Steffi and Oksana. Oksana, do you want to go next? Why don't you share with us a little bit, catch us up in terms of how you got here, what decisions you had to make, what it was like to leave the regular corporate life or the regular job that you had to be a full-time facilitator. And then we'll hear from Steffi, and then hopefully we'll take some questions at that point. Go ahead.
Sure, sure. Well, very interesting story. I'm an accountant. I worked as an accountant for 18 years in the city. And it just happened that my second marriage failed. And when my second marriage failed, everything just went down the hill. I had to move, marriage failed, my uncle was dying of cancer. The job where I worked, they closed out. So I just had to make a choice. So I just sat there at my couch and I said, two marriages failed, two different people. Like, I can't blame them both. There's something wrong with me. And as soon as I start thinking about me, that there is something wrong with me, I need to really find out what's going on with me. That's, I think, where I shifted.
Yeah.
And I went into the healing myself, discovering myself, did the energy work, I did numerology.
Did you discover that there's nothing wrong with you? I'm just curious.
No, because I was like, okay, I'm great. Everything is fine with me. What's going on? Then I learned numerology, which I love to explore about that energy, about the numbers, because I mean, I'm an accountant.
Oh, that makes
And
sense.
yes, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so great. But why is this thing happening to me? Why am I not why am I in two marriages felt the same way, abused, toxic, unloved, unsafe. So as I started going deeper and deeper, I did regression work, I studied, and then one of my healers said, you're not going to do this, this is not for you, you tend to do something big. I'm like, you know what, screw this. I'm going to make money. And I've actually started working in the medical office as a manager and an accountant at the same time. And it just like thrived. Great money, connected well with people, doing so well. COVID hit, working, making money, very popular. And as I'm working, I'm studying, keep on healing myself, wanting to find out more. And then at one point, it just hit me. None of the women in the community happy. Mother's not happy. My grandmother's not happy. And then I started doing family constellation. And then I started realizing that oh my God, like something opened up inside me. You need to help you need to help your women. You need to help women. They're suffering.
Mhm.
And then I start going into more conscious, subconscious mind. The belief system, we all had the same belief system. We don't know how to love. We don't know how to feel love. And then it was like my calling. I have to quit my job. Everyone at the job said, you're crazy. What are you doing? Where are you going? We need you. They offered great money. They offered great package. And I said, I can't. I have to do what I have to do.
That
And I
takes a
just
switch.
quit cold turkey. I don't know
Amazing.
what I was doing. My
Yeah.
son-in-law called me and he says, listen, you're living by yourself. You have no support. You have
Mhm.
some balls on you. Are you sure you want to do this? I
Yeah.
said, I see myself like this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And I just went in, with closed eyes, but with so much faith to God. And this is my 5th year. And I grew a lot. I'm still learning. Thanks, Sabrina, so much. We
You're
work
welcome.
together as well. Yes. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I hold space for a lot of women, help my daughters, help my mother, help my sisters, like very close circle.
Yeah, and you give your sessions in Russian as well, right? So you serve
Yes, both.
in
Yes,
English.
both English and Russian. I work worldwide. Wake
Yeah,
up very early in the morning. Yes, go to sleep. And it gives me the pleasure of
amazing.
seeing the transformation
Yeah,
and seeing women happy, the children happy. It's just such a big, a beautiful sight where people learning how to love themselves and choosing themselves.
yeah,
You
beautiful. I
know,
love
so
it. I love it. And would you have it any other way? Are you sorry that you left your?
absolutely not. If anyone told me I would do this, I would like laugh at their faces. But
Yeah,
when I go back, as a child, that's what I love to do. I love to help people. They called me Mother Teresa because they said, like, why are you helping? And I just felt if I have it in me, let me
mhm,
help.
yeah,
And as now, where I am right now, I understand like this is exactly where I want to be. This is exactly what I want to do.
yeah,
And
very,
it's not about the money, it's just about the purpose,
yeah,
serving the purpose and healing someone and helping,
mhm,
understanding their pain and letting them know, oh, it
mhm.
has nothing to do with you. Just let's dive in. Let's dive in into the ocean and let's cleanse all that does not belong.
So in your quantum healing, you offer numerology and family constellations and energy clearing and subconscious work, correct?
Correct.
Just because some people don't have a clear concept of what quantum healing is. So just to make it more clear for whoever's watching and whoever wants to get in touch with you afterwards.
Yes.
So
Yes, the
yeah.
quantum healing, I was supposed to start when I was 33.
Uh-huh.
And because I kind of like denied the fact that I was good enough, I
Uh-huh.
didn't have any medical background. Like,
Yeah.
who am I to feel what I feel? So I kind of like
Here
shut
can
it
relate.
down,
Nobody here can relate to that.
shut it down. And then in 10 years, it had to be second marriage, very toxic, very abusive, 10 years. So this is where the quantum healing comes in. We don't need to wait. We
Yeah.
don't need to wait that long because subconsciously I felt that I was not good enough.
Mhm.
Consciously I felt that, oh my God, it's so not for me. But
Mhm.
now we don't have to wait till something bad happens, like a sickness, losing someone, getting hurt, financial loss. Like we don't have to. And the numbers really tells me the path that the person is going. So that helps a lot to understand. Not everyone needs family consultation. Not everyone needs like the whole package deal.
Mhm.
Some of the numbers it does show because it's like a more like a family trauma and we dive in.
Of
Not
course.
anyone needs a regress. So it depends on obviously the person and
Right,
how
right.
far they're willing to explore.
Yeah, yeah, I love numerology. It really does reveal a lot in terms of where you are in your life path, your karma, and the people that you're interacting with, and so on. It can be very illuminating for anybody watching who's never really had any exposure to numerology. Oksana is very gifted in this realm. Yeah, okay. So I want to come back to your stories about, what you do and how you help people. And of course, I want to talk about sitting in the fire of that fear of like, am I going to make enough money to provide for myself? Like sitting, because I think that is a huge huge deterrent for so many people who feel called to hold space for others. I think that we're so many of us are still trying to come out of this sort of Western conditioning of choosing my life path based on survival mode, right? Based on needing and having to provide for myself versus what really brings me joy. Okay. So I honor your courage, and I acknowledge every one of you for the path that you've took to bring yourself here to make these choices. So thank you for sharing, Ashley and Oksana. Let's hear from Steffi. I want to hear you, Steffi. Illuminate us. Tell us what it's like to be a Qigong master, facilitator, or coach. Tell us.
Sure. I'll do my best. Oh, a master. I wish I was a Qigong master. Maybe a Qigong teacher. I can't claim that status yet, but I think I have to turn water into wine and have electricity to go through me to be a master. But yes, exactly. Exactly. First of all, Ashley and Oksana, I loved hearing the stories. I wanted to ask about so many questions. It was just so interesting and so authentic, especially the journey from tradition and paying the bills and being successful at it to letting go of everything and going into this new path. I think that's something that is scary for most of us. My journey, I guess, sort of begins, I think it always does, in the womb. My mother was a very young mother. She didn't want to have a child. And I came out she was 18, and I came from parents that were very young and overwhelmed with being parents. And I was a very shy, introverted, neurodiverse child, though I didn't know at the time I was neurodiverse. And so finding my place in the world meant that I probably worked harder than everybody else to be accepted, because I was a bit different in my thinking and the way I responded to things. I would get overstimulated. So always behind the scenes, I always knew I needed quiet. And so I became, I guess, successful in my own way. I was a reporter. I was a communications executive in a healthcare system because I felt I got to give back. But I was never in my place unless I was meditating or doing something in the healing realms. And I've always loved magic. And I think you know what I mean by magic. I love fairies. I love storytelling. My Uncle Paul used to tell ghost stories around. I thought, and that's how I got into radio and television. How do I translate this love of stories into helping people who are sensitive, empathetic, and maybe introverted too? And I just knew my role was somehow in that field. And I did yoga, I did meditation. I'm still a meditation teacher, but it wasn't until I found Qigong that I found something bigger than me, meaning that, as you both know, I called on the energy of Qigong and the movements to come out of myself and come into purity, if that's the right word, timelessness, purity. And so during a silent retreat in 2021, I took my first Qigong class. I was still doing coaching. I moved into coaching. I still work part-time for my husband's law firm. That's to be continued down the road because I hope to go into full-time what I'm doing. And I started doing kindness talks because when my kids were young, I heard about bullying. I was bullied once. And I always thought kindness should be a part of our lives. So I was doing kindness talks in schools with someone who's, I think, here today too, Rona Smith. And I decided that I still hadn't found my place. And again, in Qigong and teaching people how to do it, I had to go through the levels. Ashley talked about the levels. I'm still going through the levels. And I teach online twice a week. And it is in that place that I feel most connected to universal energy. It's not Steffi Black talking, but I'm sharing a story because there's always a theme. There we go back to our main theme. I wanted to share a story for others to have a voice and me. And then I'm working with energy. And I never thought I would work with energy. That wasn't something I thought I had a gift in. And as Master Lynn has shared, the founder of my school, we are all born healers. So I just feel so grateful. I would love to continue sharing Qigong because no matter what's going on in my life, if I go into those mindful movements, I am out of my head and into energy. And it also grounds me back to being shy and introverted, right? And neurodiverse. It grounds me in my airiness or my ethereal nature.
Yeah.
And does that make sense, Sabrina? Like just
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love
Right.
it. You found an energy field that
Yes.
allows you to have peace in your nervous system, and to have peace and to have self-acceptance and self-expression, and ultimately it helps you feel safe, right, when you're in this energy field. And how do you teach that to others? Do you find that you attract, I'm assuming you attract other people that are also identify as neurodiverse, or identify as like having anxiety, or being sort of ADHD, as we call in Western society? Do you find that the qigong is very helpful to these type of participants?
I find it's helpful, especially to people that are aging. Does that make sense? So I'm going to be 60. I think it's very helpful to us to age well.
Yeah.
So I find I'm attracting people, often family members and
Yeah.
friends of family who have come to the classes, and then it's expanding a little bit from there. But I only have so much time.
Yeah.
It's mostly people that come in, and I think underneath, they want to age well, but underneath they want to feel peace, because don't we all?
Yeah.
And we want to feel heart consciousness. This, as you all know, this planet isn't going to change by just talking about it. It's our consciousness that's going to change the vibration of the planet. So I think that's how they come, Sabrina, though I'd love to attract
Yeah.
and neurodiverse people too.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that you are. I think that you are, just by being who you are, and just by sharing your story, right? And I think that's for all of us. The more we share our personal story, I find, in the early stages of being a facilitator, in my containers, and this is, I'll admit this all day long, where I was like sort of trying to teach from the meditation cushion, or teaching from the mountaintop, and it wasn't until I got deeper into my practice and deeper into working with others that I realized that, it's really important to share, to bring ourselves into our container, and to tell our own personal story, and to make ourselves vulnerable, and to make ourselves really human and relatable. Because I think that, oftentimes, especially for those that are inspired to hold space professionally, you might think, well, I have to achieve a level of mastery, or I have to be, doing this for a really long time, or my life needs to be perfect. I have to have this all figured out before I can feel credible, or feel like I can claim my authority in this vocation, right? And nothing could be further from the truth, because as one of you said earlier, I believe it was you, Steffi, where you just, it's a symbiotic relationship. When you're starting to hold space and you're helping others, you're actually deepening your own healing, and what we give, we also receive. Right. And we notice that we attract people that have similar stories, or that have similar struggles that we have, or that, are going through similar things. At least that's been, my case. And so being able to share, I always tell burgeoning facilitators, you only need to be like a few steps further along on your journey to say, hey, this is what's working for me. This is what has worked for me. This is what, I feel, this is how I live my life. And I'm going to share these tools with you, not because I know them perfectly or have them perfectly, but because I use them daily, and they really help me. They really open up my heart. They really allow me to live in a different way, in a self-expressed way. And so now I'm going to share this with you. Come and join me on this journey of living in this lifestyle, whether it's, a Reiki inspired life, or a Qigong inspired life, or a quantum healing inspired life, or in my case, just a channeling inspired life. And so, so I think that that's really beneficial for everybody, just to take the pressure off. If you feel called, if you feel an inspiration, everybody here has a personal story. Ashley, I love your take on this, because you sort of got a call. Your life was seemingly fine, and then you just got this like tap on the shoulder, right? Like you got this call, right? This sort of nudge that wouldn't leave you alone, which shows you the power of spirit, and the power of your higher self calling you and guiding you into service, which I think is tremendous, because for so many of us, we have to hit a bottom before we take personal responsibility for our pain in our suffering and our struggling. Usually, at least that was the case for me. And I think it's a very common story where you just, you get to a point where you cannot survive in this way anymore. You cannot live another day in this way anymore. And then you have to do something to shift your energy, to shift your path. And you have no idea what that's going to look like, but you know that it's necessary. In my case, it was a matter of life or death. And so I had to really choose life, choose myself. And in the intensity of that bottom was the sort of the opening that created a big accelerated shift in consciousness for me, because I really surrendered everything in that moment. And this is a very common story, and it doesn't have to be your story. All stories are different. We come into inner work for our own reasons. We get, drawn and attracted to healing circles and healing practices and modalities, with our own desires. And if, again, if you feel even just a slightest inclination towards being able to hold space professionally, hopefully this conversation is inspiring you to sort of take that leap and look more into what that could look like for you, what it means for your life. Are there people, almost every single one of us, that have been part of a family system, that come into this realization that I want to be a healer, someone who holds space? We usually start with our own family systems, right? We look at our parental relationships, our sibling relationships. We start healing from those dynamics, and that creates a ripple effect, and we're able to contribute that to other people as well. So I want to talk a little bit about your individual journeys. Like, I want to hear from Ashley. How do you find, I know you do two things, like you train other Reiki practitioners, right? So you attune them, and you also do Reiki for people who just want to receive, right? So talk to me about the shift between serving others with Reiki, one-on-one, one-to-one clients, and then becoming someone who attunes others, right? So I'm assuming there was a bit of a growth edge there and a little bit of a shift, taking on more of that responsibility. Talk to me about that particular calling.
Well, honestly, from the beginning, I knew that it was something I would want to share the gift of Reiki in a teaching format, in a tuning others format, from like the moment I took my first class, because it hit me so profoundly. I really did not have any expectations going in. I was just kind of like, okay, this tap on the shoulder just won't stop. So I'm just going to take this class. I'm going to go. But literally from the first class, I had such a deep remembering of the way that I had lived my life growing up, and a deep remembering truly of the truth of who we are at the core of our being. And I got to be embraced in the light of divine love. And I knew from that moment that I had to share that with others at any capacity, but that the most beautiful capacity, as it has been, at least for me, is to actually share that gift and pass it down through a tuning. And as far as when that like when my first students came to me, like I just put it out there, and I trusted Reiki and the divine that, like, if I was meant to teach, then students would come. And when I was ready, they would be there. And that's how it's flown. I mean, how it's unfolded. Flown. I don't know what flown is, but yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley, can I ask you something about that? Sabrina, do you mind if I ask Ashley?
Please. Ask me.
That's where I think, and anyone listening, that's where I think the hardest thing is, and Oksana can speak to this too, is you trust, but yet there's moments you get the first bill. Do I need 5 more clients? Do I need 2 more? Where did you cross that moment of just trusting, even if you had a quieter month? Did you use the Reiki to trust divinity? Or how did you get through that hump of, ooh, I'm not bringing in enough yet? So I just want to hear that from you.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, it rooted in Reiki as a practice allowed immediate trust. I mean, when you have that direct connection to divine consciousness, it changes everything that you believe to be true. And it allowed for me to and still does to this day, that I think my biggest challenge has always been myself and my conditioning and my programming and my limiting beliefs through either upbringing or society or culture. And
Mm.
so having this tool just reorients and has from the beginning reoriented me towards trust and towards being able to dissolve those limitations, but it still comes up to this day, and I think it's just rooting back into the practice and into into the energy.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for asking the question, and thank you for answering it so eloquently. There's really no such thing as a home free state. In my personal experience as a facilitator, as a guide, as a person who is, living, in full faith, and as Ashley said, so beautifully, access to divine consciousness. We're always, as long as we're here in human form, we're always working through things, right? And so it's kind of like it's not a linear process. It's like an upward spiral, right? So you're always like going through your stuff, your limiting beliefs, your conditioning, your comfort zone, your edge, as we evolve spiritually and professionally, that doesn't change, and being a professional facilitator is just one way in which that shows up. It can show up in human relationships, it can show up in intimate relationships, it can show up our in our local communities as parents, I mean, those things really, our humanity will show up in every aspect, and it will hopefully, because we have professional practice, and we have awareness, hopefully will inspire us to go deeper into our spiritual practices, to go deeper into love, deeper into surrender, deeper into trust, and deeper into faith. Ultimately, that's what we're here to accomplish. And I think we can all sort of agree that we're here to master this state of non-resistance, this state of flow and harmonious living with our divine nature, and everything that is not that is what we're here to transcend, in our own unique ways, in our own unique journeys. I think it's valuable too for anybody listening to know that, like, it's not like, oh, okay, so I want to talk about this because I think some people get confused, like, okay, should I do Reiki? Should I do this? Like, what's my modality? How do I serve? I want to take the pressure off anybody who is really drawn to being a professional facilitator, not to be so focused on the how of it, like how you're going to heal or how you're going to lead and how you're going to guide others, and allow your own individual journey to open up the way for you. Right. So as Ashley was sharing, like she had a very specific call, right? Very specific call for hands-on healing that could have taken so many different turns. And you found Reiki, and that sort of resonated for you. You also found sound healing and cacao, right? Which we haven't really talked about yet. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you started to incorporate those things? Of course, I can share too a little bit about how I've had many identities as a facilitator over the last 25 years. And I'll share that afterwards as well. So Ashley, will you tell us a little bit about these other things that sort of, filtered their way into your practice and how you hold space for others?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love too, Steffi, it actually leads really beautiful into what you were speaking about in your share of like how this is a consciousness, right? How we create this is through consciousness. And I think what Reiki was trying to show me, because Reiki was my first modality, was that my spiritual nature, my divine nature, my human nature can be unified within my body. And that truly Reiki is a path to embodied spirituality, not over there spirituality or out there spirituality in some other consciousness. It is through our heart. And so Reiki really brought in sound healing and cacao as a way to get me more embodied, because I would say my original experience in spiritual awakening was very like crown chakra blasted open experience. And so it was like, okay, how do we get these other modalities to Ashley so she can ground a little bit more in her body and her human nature, and actually be the embodied mystic and spiritual being that she's meant to be and guide and lead in this space. And so sound healing being so vibrational in the body, I think was a huge piece of that. But then also cacao being an earth medicine, connecting me back to my body, to my heart space. And so I think Reiki really delivered those tools to me as well. But I also was a singer and a songwriter growing up. And so my journey back to sound healing has also been very healing, because I really shut down that part of myself as I moved towards a more linear corporate environment as I grew up, really shut down my voice, shut down my creativity. And so there was a personal healing aspect to coming back into sound, as a means to express and to heal, but also to bring me into my body. So
beautiful. I love that. I love that coming back around. Have you noticed that you sort of always come back around to those parts of yourself that you sort of abandoned along the way, whether it's an art form or, something that, I apologize, an art form or something that was very meaningful to you that you felt like you had to let go of because of conditioning and so on. When you immerse yourself, I love what you said about being an embodied mystic and an embodied healer. When we start to embody our own essential nature, all those aspects that really bring us joy, those creative aspects that bring us joy, tend to resurface. And so I love that you went back to that. And I can affirm, I've heard Ashley sing, and she has a beautiful singing voice. So I can I can testify that this is the case. It's really beautiful.
That's awesome, Ashley. I have to add, Sabrina, that can't we do this for the children? Like, all of us took these corporate paths. It almost makes my heart sad. Like, why aren't we exposing the kids to what all of us had to go through, hardships to find these paths? In schools, I wish we had these modalities.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Very much so. Very much so. And I think for the most part, it's really up to the parents. It's really up to those of us that have little ones to sort of, be the demonstration of what it's like to live a life that is, directed by spirit and by love and by faith, rather than obligation and should and conformity and other things that society might dictate to us. And so, for those of us that are healers, that are professional facilitators, practitioners, that have kids, it's, we have a captive audience as far as like, are you the actual embodiment of your work, on a day-to-day basis, especially for those of us that have really little ones, it can be very inspiring. I know my 8-year-old always calls me into integrity with my work and my mindfulness and so on. So that's a beautiful teaching container for me as well, Okay, let's talk a little bit. Oksana, do you want to share a little bit about the kind of results? I want to hear from everybody, the kind of results that people get when they work with you. Like, what do they experience? What's the transformation? What is the peace? What is the general outcome of participants? That this is a question for everybody, and I'll take Oksana first, and then we'll sort of go around. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, I'm concentrating more. Lately, I've been doing mother-daughter classes. And when Stephanie said about the kids, I see that a lot of children don't understand their mothers. Mothers don't understand the children. This is where numerology comes in, and this is where I explain. And I start doing mother-daughter sessions, which is amazing. Just 2 to 3 sessions, and then they just click back in. Of understanding and holding space for each other, and kind of like be there, giving respect. So throughout my healing journey and as working with clients, I've understood that everyone has their own trauma that they go through, and it doesn't start with that. It's like a layers of the layers of the layers, and that's how far they want to go. So I dealt with a lot of relationship, self understanding, their purpose, also health issues, and financial breakthroughs. So it's kind of like different aspects. But right now I'm concentrating more on women of understanding themselves, because they have an amazing energy. They just don't know how to use it the right way. And I'm actually putting the course together in the end of the March. I'm hoping it's going to come out to work with a group of women. I do one-on-one sessions. So, and it's a word of the mouth. So I am very busy, but I want to do the group because I just don't have time for myself. Like, I want to be able to speak with many.
You're ready to scale your business, moving out of one-to-one to one-to-many, which is beautiful. This is the path that we all usually go on, which is amazing. I love that you're there. How do you feel about that?
Oh my God, it's amazing. And a lot of my clients says, we want to learn what you do. And I said, okay, I'm hoping I will come up with my own, because it's a little bit of everything. I'm still going inside me and understanding me more, understanding my soul, what needs to be done. So I am diving in more and more. I'm not stopping. I know I will come up with something one of these days. Yes. So it's very nice to hear what Steffi is doing, and Ashley. I've never heard about the what Steffi is doing. I would love to. Yes. Like
Nobody knows how to say it. It's okay, Oksana.
I would love to learn more and understand. Maybe it will give me that shift. Maybe it will give me that kick. Yes, but I'm very open, and it's a lot of love. I understood when the heart is open and when you give unconditional love, somehow, somewhere you're being rewarded. I can't even explain. But that's where, like, yes, go ahead, Sabrina.
Can I share? Is it okay that I tell people that you participated in the Way of the Mystic?
Yes, of course.
Yes. So Oksana took my Way of the Mystic class, and she was so nervous. And then for the first time ever, she was able to do her first mediumship channeling, and successful mediumship.
Wow.
It was such a beautiful thing. You are so powerful, Oksana. It was so beautiful.
Thank you.
Just kind of step in, and most of the time we just have to, everybody can relate to this, we just have to get over our own nervousness, our own self-doubt, our own limiting beliefs. Can I do this? Can I do this successfully? And I mean, Ashley, Steph, you probably let me know if you agree with this, but I find that as soon as we let go of any attachment to the outcome, like as soon as you just let go of like being results driven or having to, create a certain experience for a client, or, being able to make any kind of guarantees, as soon as we let go of that and we trust that we're just here to serve as channels, as vessels for healing in whatever way we're feeling called to share, that the work of God, the work of spirit, the work of your higher self, of the higher self of the person that you're sitting with, or people that you're sitting with, if you're facilitating in a group, will come forward. It always comes forward in the way that people need. I say things sometimes, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe this happened. I walk away. I'm always amazed, but I'm never surprised, even after 25 years of holding space, like, oh, wow, like that just came through me, because that's what that person needed to hear, And so I really want to encourage anybody to like trust that you don't have to know exactly what to say or how to say it. I think that energy and empathy and intention are, more valuable than skillfulness and, structured mentality or the right words or the, even experience, right? So it's just a matter of bringing that energy and that intention, and trusting that the rest of the things will come as we move forward. As Oksana said, she's still creating her programs. And so sure, you're still downloading information. All of us can relate to sort of shifting our offerings. I went from, being an intuitive guide for many years, just focusing mostly on inner child work and mindfulness and trauma-informed mindfulness techniques, to doing more mediumship work and more channeling work and psychic work, and then training other facilitators. And so, we shift, we grow. As we grow, so do our offerings, right? Again, we want to look at our roles not as people that do one specific thing, but we're here to, share our journey, and your journey becomes your vocation, becomes your point of inspiration for other people. And that, we're here to inspire others, that their personal stories can be a source of inspiration for others as well.
I want to add something. The more I fought not to go into the self-discovery and healing, the more I was hurting myself. And at one point I just said, I surrender. I surrender. And that's when it went into the gratitude. That's when I went to the love and just let go. And that's when everything just magic started to happen.
Beautiful. I love that. Ashley, can you describe to us a little bit, even for my own purposes, like what are some of the results that people get as coming and doing Reiki regularly? Like what do you see is like a common type of issue or symptom that people will come to you with, that they experience relief or breakthroughs in? I'm curious to know.
Sorry, I'm laughing because it's across the board, really. And I'm laughing because it's reminding me, especially when you were just talking about like trusting and being an open channel that when we move ourselves aside and our attachment to the outcome aside, like what is meant to come through comes through. And I just had a conversation with someone who was doing a marketing project, and he was like, who is your niche like person that you reach out to? As a friend of mine in school, like, and just for fun. And I was like, well, whoever God says.
Yeah, yeah.
And he
That's
was like,
pretty much the niche for most spiritual
yeah.
practices. Anybody who wants help. Yeah.
I know. So I just was laughing, reflecting on that story. But the beautiful thing about Reiki is, even if to answer more succinctly, is just, the beautiful thing about Reiki is, even though it's an energy healing technique, really anything can be treated. And so emotional ailments, mental ailments, physical ailments, even spiritual attachments, energetic attachments, cords and connectors and sources of power that have been given away to people, places, and experiences. So really, I would say the majority, though, for me personally, I see a lot of clients with past childhood trauma, because the reflection of what I've gone through and what I've healed from. So childhood trauma, anxiety, depression, a lot of physical pain and suffering that has like a deeper emotional, energetic root cause that they're looking to, move through chronic pain. And also those that know that they have gifts and are looking to learn how to embody them, or even how do I take the steps into that. So that's, probably more of what I see the most of for myself. But yeah, and being able to just help people see their own power and empowerment and abilities in sharing who they are with the world.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. I love it so much. It's amazing. It's amazing. What about you, Steffi? What are some of the results that people get in working in doing some of your classes or incorporating Qigong in their daily lives?
Well, there's an expression in Spring Forest Qigong called smile. Start my internal love engine.
Well, I love that.
Say one of the things that I've heard people, their shoulders get better, to Ashley's point, or a little pain gets better. But you know what I think the biggest thing is, and you address this, Ashley, 80 to 90% of illness is emotional in Chinese medicine. And when I heard someone who I knew was, had a lot of stress, had to work hard and challenges at home, say, I'm smiling a little bit more, Steffi. I almost cried because I knew how powerful that was. So I won't claim any big breakthroughs. I'll claim little, and I won't claim it. I'll let the chi claim it. I'll claim that this energy work and the daily. I'm big on daily rituals. I think we can get too caught up in our minds if we don't do something daily to go into grounding or energy. So I think the movement medicine, as I like to call it, can help people be emotionally a little bit happier. And I think in this day and age where there's a lot of anxiety and stress, being a little bit happier is a beautiful thing. So I think, Sabrina, that I hope that answers your question. I can go to individuals, but I think the biggest thing is their emotional healing helps their physical healing. And in Spring Forest Qigong, we try to do 100 days. If you really want to work on getting better, you come to my weekly classes. Of course, that's great. But we suggest 100 days of Qigong and meditation, like the microcosmic orbit one, but for Qigong, and then open up your channels.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, repetition, a daily ritual. I mean, we need it, right? Like we said earlier, there's no such thing as a home free state. So it's every day we work on it. Every day we choose it. Every day we allow it. We embody it. And we make our life decisions that align with the version of ourselves that we want to be, right? And so it's really important to be able to, just remind ourselves that, like, it's a constant daily reprieve, right? Of choosing that and being that. And it's like, we're this living, breathing entity. We can get triggered. We can get, taken out of our power. We can experience pain and we can experience suffering, but practicing daily allows us to clear that, allows us to continuously choose our our practice to choose love, and that allows us to be examples for other people of what's possible, because we go up and we go down, right? I mean, and this is also true as we study equanimity in some of the Buddhist techniques like Vipassana, which is a meditation style that I studied for many years. Emotions can be up and emotions can be down, but what is always present is peace, right? That peace is the baseline. So that's always present. That's always available to us at the core of our being, regardless of what we're going through. We have some questions. Okay, here we go. Lacey, can you post a question for us? Helena Handbasket, hello. Thank you for joining us. 1111. Are all light workers feeling worn out all day as of late? What would be the advice? I love this question. I think a lot of us are feeling the heaviness of this new era of 2025 and all that it's brought so far. I think that there's definitely an intensity in the collective. I feel very deeply that we're all going through a very deep recalibration, and there's a lot of emotions that are being worked through. Things are bubbling up to the surface, more anger, more fear, and so on, as we sort of recalibrate to those things that really bring us joy, and those things that we're all really looking to find more healing. So I would say yes. I would like to hear from other practitioners as well. What are your thoughts on this? Are everybody feeling a little more tired? You're just kind of processing energy for the collective and trying to clear space for those, your clients, for the people that you interact with intimately on a one-to-one basis, or even a group setting, or even in your family systems or your communities. How do you feel about this question? Please feel free.
I can go. I didn't see if the other ladies had. First of all, Helena, thank you so much for that question. It's a great one. I totally agree with Sabrina. There's a big intensity in the air. There's a little bit of collective pain coming up, a little chaos, so we can heal and bring something better. And when I feel worn out, Sabrina touched upon it, as did Oksana and Ashley, our daily ritual of coming back home again helps me. I'm just sharing from my perspective. I do a little bit of chi. I find movement helps me. Sometimes meditating, if I'm too worked up, it doesn't take it away. So either connecting with nature and coming into the energy medicine for me takes it away. There's something we do in Qigong called bouncing, and I'll just bounce and get it out. And then I ask for help. Sometimes I forget. I just say, I'm having a little bit of, I'm struggling here. And I do a little chi, ask for help, and take a walk or bath or something physical. So that's just my 2 cents.
Beautiful. And this is,
absolutely agree. Yes,
this
absolutely agree.
This points to what we were talking about before, about having a daily ritual, daily practice to help keep us grounded and aligned with the truth, with our spiritual principles, with our capacity to love and to move through difficult things. Ashley, do you want to chime in on this question?
That was so beautifully said, Steffi. Thank you so much. The message that came up is actually one that I got a while ago in channeling some of my guides, and they shared that really at this time, we are not the ones really doing the work. We're just allowing the light to flow through us to bring more of that peace and that love and that joy onto the earth. And so how we do that is we embody what our joy is and keep orienting towards what brings us joy. And I think I would agree with a lot of what Steffi said, like connecting to the earth, getting your feet in the grass, like playing sounds, singing, dancing, like whatever brings you joy, and orienting towards that just allows for more of the light of spirit to flow through to the planet that's needed at this time. And that will support you in being filled up too. But I feel it though, for sure. I mean, to answer that part of it, I definitely feel it, definitely have a lot of transformation happening in my life. And that's, the ritual to bring back and reorienting.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Steffi and Ashley, for answering the question so beautifully and sharing your own practice. Oksana, would you like to chime in? I'm curious your take on this question as well.
Oh, I agree with ladies. Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's not that it's more energy. It's like just feeling tired. But again, salt bath helps a lot. If you don't have a bath at home, just showering with the salt helps a lot. Meditating outside, just fresh air, shifting from the place where I'm sitting. And music helps me a lot with the music, kind of like take my mind away, or speak with your loved one, connecting with children, just see how free they are and happy they are. That also gives me a big shift.
Yeah, beautiful. I love all of your perspectives on this. There's one more thing that I would like to share that I find beneficial for me, especially as a light worker. You know, I notice that I feel more worn out and more tired the more attached I am. And I talked about this already. The more attached I am to making a difference, to healing, to helping, to being of service, the more attached I am to an outcome, the more drained I will feel. Okay. And this is for me as an important benchmark. It's an important metrics in my daily practice of guiding others. When I allow things to move through me and I trust that everything is happening for everybody's highest good, like everyone's having the experience they're supposed to have, even in their suffering, even in their pain, like it's all so divinely, beautifully orchestrated. We can't see it when we're suffering. It's hard to embrace that we're going through something difficult and it's meant to serve our highest and best good, but just trusting that person is going through what they need to go through in order to have that transformation, in order to shift, in order to come closer to God or closer to love or closer to inner peace, right? Which is the goal for every single one of us. So yes, definitely yes to feeling worn out as far as the collective energy is concerned. And also just remembering to detach, lovingly detach from the personal experiences of clients and participants that come seeking advice and guidance and healing, and just letting go and trusting that they're having the experience they're supposed to have, so that helps me stay a little lighter. Yes, Ashley, please.
Can I add something to that? That was so beautiful. Yeah. And to remember that as healers and guides and light workers, that we're not, it's not our duty to save, but to just mirror when people are ready to remember their power and their worth. And it's not about saving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because so many of us come into this work feeling like we have to save others because we've had to save people in our own family systems, whether it was you were the parent to your mom or you were the mediator of your siblings or the family sponge or, whatever your dynamic was in early childhood. We come into this work thinking, okay, now I'm responsible for everybody else's experience. You're not. In fact, you become a better practitioner and a more fluid and clear channel of healing energy when you let go of that attachment. And we've learned to relate to our clients as people that are capable of leading themselves, empowered, right? We don't relate to them as people we have to fix, but we relate to them as people that are here to sort of just awaken to their essential nature. And we are, as guides, are just here to facilitate this one small portion of their evolutionary path. We're here to serve our gifts and, this is going to help you with this thing. And then off you go, do, awakening in your own way, taking on other modalities, learning other modalities, and doing whatever inspires you. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you, Helena. Thank you so much. Okay. Do we have any more questions here? Hi, Pure Love Ascension. Thank you I love your handle. Thank you for joining us. We as light workers tend to help others and sometimes don't realize how important self-care is. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think everybody here can relate to that, where we want to give, we want to love, we want to share. And then, of course, we need to have space held for us. We all need our own people that we can go to for clearing, for support, for empathy. So it's very important that we get our own personal needs met. Does anybody want to share a little bit about your own self-care tips? I know we've talked about this a little bit already. Anything that we haven't heard yet that you feel inspired to share around your own self-care? What is that? What is your sign that you're doing too much, giving too much, and you need to retreat? And when that retreat happens, what does it look like for you?
Ashley mentioned joy, and I had some stress this morning, and I went and had a piece of dark chocolate. Now that sounds, and I'll tell you why I think that's important. It's the vibration of joy.
Yeah.
So I don't just take that dark chocolate. I go, it's my dark chocolate time. I'm not worried about what's going on there. What's going to bring me joy and raise my vibration and get out of the worry and stress? So, to your question, pure love, is I go dark chocolate and a tea, which I have right now. I go, oh, this is me time and I deserve it. Oksana does too. So that's a little thing, but you touched upon it, and figuring out what brings us joy in a day of stress actually can change our vibration. And take that bath, Oksana said, or whatever. I just think we forget about joy. Like sometimes you almost have to go, well, everybody's stressed around me. This is all stress. No, no, no. I'm not taking this on. I'm going to go now and I'm not going to work anymore. Nobody has to know it. I'm going to go get a tea and dark chocolate or watch whatever you need to make you happy again. So I just wanted to add that to an earlier point.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Lacey has a question. Lacey says, how do you maintain balance between your own healing and giving to others, especially in a healing profession? You know, this seems to be the question, right? So again, right on point with what everyone's been sharing so far. I think it's important to know yourself. It's important to know your limits. It's important to have healthy boundaries, right? We're talking about boundaries, like not taking on other people's stuff, or, you know, feeling like you have to save others, or being attached to an outcome. Being attached to an outcome is more about your own need for validation as a facilitator. We've all been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, especially in the early stages of facilitating. I know I have. It's like, I helped this person, I'm so great, you know, and then it becomes more about like, oh, I really truly feel called to be of service to this person. And it really has nothing to do with me. It has to do with my commitment to service and their willingness to receive the gifts that I have to offer. And that takes the pressure off. I think as far as achieving balance is concerned, you know, when we start to feel like we're doing too much or giving too much, and of course, this requires rigorous self-honesty. It requires a willingness to sort of pause, even when there's a lot of demand for the work or demand for our time and attention, to be very vigilant of our own energy systems and our own energy field and our boundaries, and be able to sort of shut down when we need to, right? And so this is a day, it can be a moment to moment thing, can be a daily thing, can be a weekly thing. You know, does anybody want to share a little bit about what their stop is, what their stop sign is? Oksana, do you want to chime in?
Yes, as soon as I let go of expectations, because to me it was like to get the job done, and whatever I'm putting in has to get done. As soon as I let go of expectation and just go with the field of love,
Yeah.
and whatever happens, happens, that's when I realized there was a healthy boundaries for myself, and kind of like a balance between my own healing and giving others, because I was not receiving it. I was expecting it from the teacher to take responsibility, but it was all me.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like a teacher and a student at the same time. So I kind of understood the both fields. That's
Beautiful.
when yes, and that's when I had let go expectations and thinking that it's teacher's responsibility or healer's responsibility to heal me. That's when I understood that the shift happened, and I start feeling much better. That
Yeah.
it's not all me.
Beautiful. Amazing.
And also, like Ashley said, a lot of energies come from God, from universe. It just comes through us, and we say certain things, we feel certain things, and we just saying it. We're like, oh, where's this come from? Like, I can't believe I did that, you know. But yes, it comes unexpectedly.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You know, heal thyself, right? And so we're here to heal ourselves publicly, to the degree that we're willing to share our journeys with other people, and that's meant to inspire. It's never meant to direct or control or manipulate another person's experience. It's really just we're here as demonstrations, and it's important for us to take that time for ourselves as well, because that also shows people like, hey, it's okay to not always be on, to not always be available. It's okay to have boundaries. You know, I sort of use this example with my own children as well. It's like, you know, it's okay to say no, right? And then they understand, you know, that, you know, you don't always have to, it doesn't always have to be a yes. That part of being a healthy individual is about learning to take space and learning to be able to not be available, you know, at times, because you need your own attention the most, you know. So I think that's important in the life of every practitioner. We got lots of compliments. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with us today, everybody. Thank you, Last Opus, for joining us. A. Levine, thank you for being here. And we have one last comment here. Helena says, happiness never decreases from being shared. Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. This is true. I love this quote. This is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing this with us today. I want to take the last few minutes. And Lacey, I'm hoping that you have everybody's links. I would like to share how to get in touch with everybody that's here today. Steffi, who is teaching Qigong and doing coaching. Ashley, who is a Reiki master, practitioner, teacher, sound healer, and cacao ceremonialist. And Oksana, who is a quantum healer. And this is a beautiful quote. Thank you so much. So Steffi Black Coaching, here's the link to reach out to Steffi. Steffi, what are you offering us today? Are you offering something unique?
If anyone would like to try an online Qigong session, no experience required, just an open heart. That's it.
Beautiful. This is a free offering that Steffi is sharing with us for anybody who's interested in Qigong. You can check out Steffi's link. You can copy and paste it and go check out her work and incorporate this beautiful practice in your daily life. Thank you so much. What about Oksana? Do you have a link for us today to share?
Yes, I'm actually sharing it right now to Lacey. So
here we go. Okay, beautiful. This is Ashley. We got Ashley's link up and going. So Ashley, for anybody who wants to get in touch with Ashley, this is her IG, ashley.live life Reiki studio. You can check out all of her offerings there on her link and go. Are you offering something in particular today, Ashley? Is there something unique or anything you want to share?
Yeah. Thank you for putting the Instagram on there. That's a great way to get in touch with me, so we can continue the conversation. I would love to talk about anything that may have come up for you. I'm always here. And I've also, this link here is for Reiki level 1 and 2 training. It's a day retreat in just outside of Los Angeles. And it's a day retreat because there are not overnight accommodations, but it's 3 days to learn Reiki level 1 and 2. And, even if Reiki is not a professional path for you, it is very much first and foremost a practice for ourselves and supports us in defining and understanding and embodying our life purpose. And so I want to offer $100 off the retreat to anyone who is here today.
Thank you so much. That's so generous. I appreciate that. Everybody copy paste that and go learn your Reiki. It's a beautiful way to live in accordance to Reiki energy. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we have Oksana Katz. There's your IG. There is her IG handle. The best way to get in touch with Oksana. Oksana, do you have an offering that you'd like to share with us today?
yes, I would love to give the reading of numerology. Who interesting, and let them see if they could find their way of learning and experiencing and understanding their soul number and the path number.
Beautiful. So a free numerology session, is that what my understanding?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
good. So go DM Oksana right now and ask for your free numerology session, and we'll say that and just don't forget to mention where you saw her, and she'll be able to honor the session for you. I love this, everybody. Thank you so much. And where is my offering, Lacey? Let's see. I have an offering as well. Here we go. Sabrina, you can check out my 1-to-1. I also have a facilitator training coming up on February 28th. Lacey, perhaps you can share the link for Intuitive Sabrina. It's /facilitator training as well. It's all available on my website. There's the facilitator training for those that are wanting to be certified healers, practitioners, guides. If you want to develop your intuitive gifts and channeling gifts, psychic mediumship skills, learn how to hold space for inner child work, I have a certification program for you. There is the link for that as well. So, we hope that everybody everybody received so much value from today's conversation, and that you benefited from the wide variety of our experience, our, individual stories, and that you take that step if you feel called, whether it's Qigong or Reiki or quantum healing or whatever other modality speaks to you. We invite you to continue the conversation, as Ashley said earlier. Reach out to us and ask us your questions in your own time. There's never the right time to do this, as we mentioned at the beginning. And if you're feeling called, we encourage you to honor that. For those of us that have found some measure of service in this world, we've found true meaning and true fulfillment in being able to guide others and to offer others the gifts that we have received in our own individual healing. Sharing is what amplifies this joy for us, and we hope that it amplifies this joy for you, and we hope that it amplified it for you today in our conversation. Thank you so much, Steffi, for being here. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Oksana. I consider you my sisters. I just love and adore each and every one of you. I honor you for the path that you've taken, for your courage, for your commitment, for the way that you live your life. You are such an embodiment of love and light, and in so being, you raise the consciousness of the planet. So I'm honored to stand with you and to share this work from our hearts to yours. Thank you for joining us. If you liked this broadcast, feel free to subscribe. I host a weekly Oracle Hour as well, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific on this channel. Come and ask your questions.
So great. And it's so great, Sabrina, if I can interrupt. Your Oracle Hour is so wonderful. Anyone with a question, anything on their mind, just come in, right?
Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to offer free channeled guidance for you, answer questions on your spiritual journey. We have a lot of fun with spirit messages and loved ones that have crossed over as well. So please come in and join us every Wednesday on this channel at 5 p.m. Pacific. Feel free to leave a comment at the end of this video as well. We're going to put everybody's link, Steffi, Ashley, Oksana's, and my link at the bottom of this video as well, so you can reach out to us, share it with your friends, watch the replay, pause, ask questions, and just feel free to use us as a resource so that you can find your way to being a professional facilitator if that's what calls you. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I send you all my love and blessings. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.